electrifying Dr. Wes Fryer. We are so pleased to have this energizing key generator get us started for the day. Dr. Fryer is a 1992 graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy. He was named an Apple Distinguished Educator in 2005. He has been a Google certified teacher since 2009, and he earned his PhD in curriculum and instruction from Texas Tech University in 2011. He currently teaches 4th and 5th grade STEM classes in Yukon at Independence Elementary. He describes himself as a catalyst for creative engagement and collaborative learning, moving at the speed of creativity, as his blog proclaims. Dr. Fryer will get us revved up to start our day. Please help me to welcome to the stage Dr. Wes Fryer as he helps us to visualize.
Good morning, everyone. The latest National Geographic magazine has a wonderful article I want to commend to you called Secrets of the Brain. And there's a lot of things to probably say about this, but the thing that struck me the most is how little we know about how the brain really works. Neuroscientists today are mapping the brain, not just at a course level, which is probably what we've seen the most of with fMRIs, but at a very granular level down to the synapse, and I can get into all of those brain terms. It's important to understand how the brain works as educators, but we don't have to be neuroscientists to know what sticky learning might look like. And what I'd like to challenge us to think about today as we kick off our day of energizing learning and thinking about how we can bring innovation to our classrooms is what sticky learning might look like. I think of sticky and I think of s'mores and I think of marshmallows. We've been having snow days, and my kid's favorite thing I think is the roast marshmallows on our hearth in the living room. And that can be a sticky experience. If you think, though, about what can make learning sticky in your classroom, it's not just what we might put on our hands, it's how we have things in our brain that we process that make connections that last. I would say learning that persists is a good definition of sticky learning. And I love the quotation that my friend Bob Sprangel in Maine shared this last week. He said, "Our brains are wired for storytelling, so why are so many classes still lecturing?" And it's wonderful to be here with A+ teachers because we are about doing so many other things than simply delivering content to students. So I like Bloom's taxonomy, and especially the revised version from 2001, and I love this question. What will we create today? Let's say that together. Ready, go.
What will we create today?
In all your sessions, I hope that you're going to be creating. You're going to make. In fact, I know you will, because that's what the facilitators are going to do. And that's a great question for our kids to ask in class. What are we going to create? What are we going to make? So the last couple years, I've been working on a framework for digital literacy and thinking about things we can make with devices. How many of you have some kind of handheld device in your classrooms that either your school has provided or that your kids bring to school? Does anybody have any kids bringing smartphones or having devices? And we have more and more of these. And this is the wave of the future. All of us are going to one-to-one, where every child has a device, every teacher does. We're going there at different phases. And so today I want to hone in this session on the sixth one that's called visual note-taking. Because the two easiest things for me to do right now are, number one, overwhelm you. Anybody else overwhelmed with information, with technology? Number two, scare you. Would anybody admit to being a little scared, a little fearful? Because we already all are to varying degrees, right? So let's talk about visual notes. I think that sometimes we overestimate the magic and power of video by itself to teach. And how many, by a show of hands, are using YouTube? You can use YouTube in your classroom. The district allows you to access it. Woohoo! That's an exciting thing, because just a few years ago there would have been a lot fewer hands. And in Yukon, we use a thing that's free called YouTube for Schools that lets our kids access whitelisted or approved educational videos. And as a teacher, I can bypass other videos. Well, earlier this semester in January, I did a 2-week unit with my students on the science and technology of music and sound. And at one of these centers, I had my students watch a video, and then they wrote about it on their blog. And we used a video from ASAP Science. Now, I'll caution you, some of their videos are a little edgy, and you definitely always want to watch a full video before you show it to your kids. Make sure, there's not something that's going to trip you up. But what I want to do today is actually have you right now get out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. If you have an electronic device like an iPad and you have an art app, you can go ahead and open that up if you want to use it. But what I'm going to do is show you a pretty quick 2.5-minute video from ASAP Science about the Olympics. This is one called How Olympians Have Changed, and it was published just 3 days ago on Thursday. Already has 500,000 views with the Winter Olympics starting. There's lots of attention on the Olympics. And I want you to take visual notes of this. Well, Wes, what does visual notes mean? You haven't even told us. Well, visual notes, I'm going to go into a little more detail, are basically you're recording the main ideas, some of the key ideas. So in the next 2.5 minutes, with whatever you have, paper, iPad app, pen, crayon, whatever it is, I want you to try and capture some of the key ideas from this video. Take a look. Here we go.
The athletes of today are not only much better than those of the past, they also look incredibly different. The weird thing is, scientists know that the human body hasn't evolved that in the past 100 years. So why do Olympic athletes look so different now compared to the first Winter Olympics in 1924? In the early 1900s, the ideal athlete was based on classical human proportions. If we imagine body types distributed as a bell curve, with extreme body types being on the far ends, it was the middle of the curve that was considered the best physical build. Athletes who were not too tall, but not too short, not too bulky, but not too skinny, and, well, average, were deemed as ideal for the Olympic pursuit. But this has all changed. Now athletes succeed based on their highly specialized body types, which allow them to excel in a world of growing competitiveness. For example, athletes who are required to spin in the air, such as figure skaters or gymnasts, have been getting smaller. These athletes with short, specialized body types have an advantage over average or tall athletes, weeding them out at the elite level. In fact, in 30 years, the average professional gymnast has shrunk from 5'3" to 4'9". Computer simulations studying the physics of ski jumping have proven that jump length increases drastically with a decrease in body weight. Throughout recent years, this has caused world-class ski jumpers to become extremely underweight, including many examples of anorexia. With women competing in the Olympic ski jumping event for the first time this year, their bodies are stockier and broader than their male counterparts. As female ski jumping becomes more popular and competitive in the future, it's likely we'll see the extremely thin ski jumping body type dominate the sport. Hockey is also an example of visible body changes. Studies looking at the past 26 years alone found a steady increase through the years of nearly all variables measured. This included height, mass, body mass index, aerobic and anaerobic fitness, and even grip strength. Since the 1920s, hockey players have increased nearly 4 inches on average, from 5'9" to 6'1". So clearly the average Joe Olympian is a thing of the past. But science says the games may now be a realistic goal for people of many different sizes and shapes. Don't forget, we have a new video out every day during the Olympics. Can't wait? Our amazing partners at the CBC already have 5 of the videos up now for you to binge on. Just head to cbc.ca/Olympics/Science Says to watch them before anyone else. Link in the description. But we also want to know your questions for this special series. Use the hashtag ScienceSays and let us know your burning Olympic questions. And subscribe for more awesome science videos.
Okay, wow. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. I want you to turn to your neighbor, share your visual notes with them, and talk about some of the key ideas you heard in that 2.5-minute video. You have 1 minute, go. gonna try and be fancy and make my junk whacking my microphone and my phone silence. That didn't work. I did, however, mute my volume, and one of the things I like to do when we discuss videos together is mute it and then have it playing in the background. So, how many of you found it difficult to draw and watch? Okay? How many of you love that? You were just all over that. Okay, so first thing to say about this is, if this strategy reaches just one of your kids finds it a good way to process information and make it sticky, that's great. Because one of the lies that's perpetuated today in education, mainly through policy, is that one size fits all, and that one thing is going to work for everybody. And we know as teachers, that's absolutely not true. It's not true in this room, and it's not true in your classroom. So, let's talk a little bit more about visual note-taking and how this can work for us. First off, that was pretty fancy, wasn't it? Kind of. But it was also a little old school because it was hand-drawn. I love that. I love that blending. And some people call that whiteboard animation. You may have seen Sir Ken Robinson's RSA Animate about changing education paradigms, or Dan Pink has one about the surprising truth of what motivates us. Did you know there's an app for that? There's a little app called Video Scribe, and it's not free like the other ones I'll mention today, but it's pretty cool because you don't have to draw. In order to use Video Scribe, you select items that have been drawn by others from a library, drag them in, put them on a timeline, and you create your own whiteboard animation. Now that kind of a project takes a little bit more time. But today, we're just talking about visual notes. Every single person in this room has grown up in an educational system that, as you moved up, became more and more linguistic and left-brain and thinking about Roman numerals with notes, right? Did any of you get in trouble for drawing in class? Was anyone like that? Okay, there are the hands. We can probably swap some stories about that. Because teachers, especially as we go higher up in secondary and college, expect notes to look a certain way, right? I want your notes to look like mine. Why? Because I'm the teacher, and this is how I've learned, and I want you to learn it. Well, I would say good notes, if we think of a litmus test to say if this is good or not, can I retell you the key ideas of the lesson or the video or the book chapter using my notes? Are notes a tool for me to use to retell? And so I want to challenge you in a couple ways today. Number one, I'm giving you homework, and it's to watch a video. It's a wonderful TEDx video called Drawing in Class. And Rachel Smith, who actually is a graphic facilitator now, she's paid to go to business meetings and draw on the wall and create visual representations on butcher paper or on whiteboards, and sometimes on her iPad of what's being discussed in the meeting. That's a fantastic video that I think every teacher and professor should see, because Rachel tells her story of being made to stay after class and clean the erasers and do some work because she was not taking notes the way her teacher thought she should. But her brain works differently, and all of our brains are pretty visual if we're able, even if we're not visual, and even if we can't see, there's amazing ways the brain is being tapped in with technology to be able to see. That's homework number one. Second, challenge. And if you like the word challenge instead of homework, we'll stick with challenge. I want you to practice visual note-taking. In fact, right now, you've already got out a device or a piece of paper. I'd love for you to take some visual notes. And in order to get a better idea of that, let's talk about what visual note-taking is not and what it is. First off, visual note-taking is not a test of your drawing skills. When I said this at the beginning, how many of you thought immediately, I can't draw? All right, there's a no, there needs to be more hands than that. It's okay, then raise your hand. But seriously, after we get out of primary grades and even upper elementary, when do kids stop drawing for fun and drawing in class? A lot of times that happens about 4th or 5th grade. There's a variety of reasons for that. Could you learn to draw better? Could I? What's that going to take? Practice. That's right. Just like basketball or riding a bike. My son just got his learner's permit yesterday, last night. Actually, it was dark. I won't tell you we've driven before, but anyway, we were out on the road for the first time for a little bit. How's he going to get better? It's going to be practicing. So this is not a test of your drawing skills. It's not about how good your drawing looks. Okay, that's item one. Number two, it's not easy. What's the easy thing to do in any class where the teacher is in the front talking? Sit back, listen, be passive, have your brain on autopilot, maybe you have your brain wander. I mean, having to translate the ideas that you're seeing or hearing into a visual language is challenging. And I won't really bet you money, but I'll say that I would bet money. I would bet you, okay, a gentleman's, that as you do this, you'll be surprised at how hard you have to work attending to the ideas and not getting stuck, with your drawing and keeping on going. Next, visual note-taking is not just for primary students. I don't want you to say, oh, Wes is an elementary teacher, that's why he's into this. No, this is something that every student can do. If we were learning about calculus or differential equations, do you think we could draw pictures to represent those processes and those ideas? Absolutely. Do you think that might help some of us understand a derivative and change over time better if we were actually drawing it? Absolutely. I love the MIT group called Lifelong Kindergarten. They're the group that created Scratch, which is this awesome free software program that lets you create games and make animations and tell stories. And lifelong kindergarten to me means some of the best elements of a developmentally appropriate kindergarten need to be in every class. Choice, collaboration, showing what you know in multiple ways, all of those kind of things. All right, so that's what visual note-taking is not. What is it? I would say it's a challenging process of meaning making. We may not know how the brain works in many, many ways today yet, but we know, and if you've done any study at all, as I know you have, on learning and how it works, we've heard of schema, we've heard of constructivism, we've heard of this idea that information simply delivered to the student is not learning. The student has to do something and attach it to existing structures in the brain in order to make meaning, and that's what visual note-taking requires. I would say visual note-taking is a lot like language translation. Anyone here able to sign American Sign Language? Okay. Anyone here speak a second language? All right. Yo puedo hablar un poquito en español. I can talk a little Spanish. But it's a challenge for me, especially listening to someone else translating it, because I am not uber fluent. Visual note-taking, I think, is a lot like the same way. In fact, Rachel Smith says this in her TED Talk, it's passive and easy to copy somebody's notes. And you and I have been in classes before where we copied down the notes saying, I don't understand this. I sure hope this makes sense later. Right? But when you have to make a picture of it, you're having to translate it. And when, as a teacher, you get to see what your kids drew or didn't draw and write down, that's a window into their mind. What did they get? What was sticky? What did they take away? Visual note-taking is also personal. These are some notes I made in San Antonio at a conference last year, and I did not color it all during the session. In fact, I drew it in black and I shaded it with color later. But you don't need to understand what all that stuff means, because this is for me. I can look at this and tell you how Stephen Johnson, author of Where Good Ideas Come From, talked about the Enlightenment and how important the Commonplace book was, a place to sort of dump all your ideas and have a place to go back to those ideas, and how coffee shops were so important because about 1710 in Europe we sort of switched from beer to coffee as the way we started our day. Now some of us may lament that. But seriously, that was huge. And if I didn't have that visual trigger, I might not remember that. It's personal. It's not about showing other people your art. This is about ideas that you can remember and that you'll be able to remember later. So here's a few tips for visual note-taking today. First off, Use a familiar medium. Now today may be an opportunity to play with an iPad app that you have, and I'll mention a couple here in a second. But with your students, if you want them to focus on visual note-taking, don't throw a new app at them and expect amazing visual notes to happen. Grab some crayons, grab some colored pencils, whatever you have. Use a familiar medium, because if you're learning a new medium, that will be more of your focus than the ideas. And it's good to learn other mediums to communicate in, but just bear that in mind. And today, don't feel like you have to use the technology. Use your pencil. And then think about maybe how you may use a device and how that could be beneficial. Here are 4 free apps that you could use to take visual notes. And in fact, if you'd like these notes, you can Google my name, Wes Fryer, put it in Google. The first hit is my blog, and you'll see all these slides. I have all these slides on my website. My favorite is Brushes 3. I also like Paper, which is by a company called 53, Adobe Ideas and InkFlow. Next tip, stay with the speaker.
They're taking pictures of your slides.
Stay with the speaker. So it's easy when we're doing this to get focused on the drawing. Remember, the drawing is not the purpose, it's instrumental to the learning. And if you're spending so much time drawing this perfect train or this perfect whatever, and you've lost where the speaker is, you got to stop drawing that and move on and go to the next thing. Okay? Great tip that I heard from a friend, Julia Forsyth, a teacher in Canada. She said, draw with a thin black line first, and then go with a layer behind it and shade in and color. So I actually haven't finished these notes that we did in a friend's house. We were doing a professional, what's it called, mastermind group. And so I took visual notes. Well, I need to go back in here and color these. All right? Last tip. I love that picture. In fact, I love that movie. You, right? Be brave. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Most of us have not had teachers that have emphasized creativity and visual expression and taking risks, but we're about that in OKA A+, right? So do that for yourself. You'll do that for your students. Do that for yourself. Be courageous today and step out and try some new things. Embrace the opportunity to feel uncomfortable as a learner, to remember what it's like to be a beginner again. Right? Because our kids have that happen all the time with new skills and new ideas. It's good for us to step out and try something new that we're not completely comfortable with, because it reminds us of what it's like to be a beginner, and it also stretches us to become better than we were before. Those are a couple visual notes that my kids created when we did a lesson on that in December this last year. So, think about sticky learning today. What makes learning stick? You're going to have all kinds of ideas shared, and you will have opportunities to create things, to make things that can visualize, hopefully, as well as in other ways, make learning sticky for you and your students.